Hello dear friends, welcome to Gate Academy Global. So before starting today's session, I would like to have the input regarding the quality of audio as well as video. If it is perfect, just write perfect over the live chat and then we are ready to go ahead. This has been my 25th live session on the engineering mathematics, where we are learning the concept of the engineering mathematics from very basics. And the student who have been new to this session, this would have a little bit idea about our timing and all. So we used to have classes on daily basis, and yes, we used to spend around 1 hour in daily basis in between 9 to 10 p.m. And the student who have been following me, I am just going to give a little bit information. Probably upcoming Saturday, Sunday, I would not be having any class. So only on the span of upcoming Saturday, Sunday, I won't be having class, but after that definitely we would be having the class in daily basis. Let me focus over the agenda behind today's video. What we are going to do over here. We are going to take around 8 to 9 different kinds of the problem, and those problems have been the type of definite integral. Few would be in a form of proper form, few would be in a form of improper form. So once you are able to solve this all sort of problem conceptually, probably you would be able to get almost all marks related to the definite integral. So one thing must be very clear to all of us, the agenda behind the today's video must be very clear to all of us. We are going to take the numericals based on the concept of definite integral. Yes, no? So here comes the first question. And this problem has appeared in GATE Electronics year of 2007. The problem was framed by IIT Kanpur. Let me focus over the problem carefully and try to get this answer with the minimalistic amount of approach, and you must be able to solve this problem within probably maximum 1 minute. Tell me what would be the best most answer for this given problem. Pranali Ingole says, good evening dear, very good evening. Tell me, the following plot shows a function y. This plot, which has been a straight line, is being a y which varies linearly with respect to the yx. What does that mean of it? That means y can be represented as mx plus of c in future. The value of the integral I, where the integration has been taken place from 1 to 2 of y over dx is. The 4 different options were attached along with the problem, and it has been a type of MCQ. That means out of the 4 different categories of the options you have been, and now you would be having only and only one best most answer. Tell me what would be the best most answer for this given problem. What would be the best most answer for this given problem? I want the input from each one of you. What would be the best most answer for this given problem? You can solve the problem with the help of 2 different methodology. First, you can use or you can refer the graphical method. Secondly, you can use the analytical method, where you can get the value of y, how it gets dependent over the x. You can feed y as a function of x, and there you can take its integration. Otherwise, you can focus over the area under the curve, which has been bounded by x is equals to 1, x is equals to 2, y itself taking the reference of x-axis. That means this problem could have been solved using the 2 different methodology, using the graphical understanding, using the analytic method. Tell me what would be the best most answer for this given problem. So the student who have been new to my channel, they must be able to understand we are going to take around 8 to 9 different kinds of the problem based on the definite integral. Most of them have appeared in previous year GATE examination, and once you are thorough with all sort of 9 number of questions which we are going to take in today's video, probably you would be able to smash all sort of definite integral. Tell me what would be the best most answer for this given problem. So within 1 minute you must be able to give its proper response. Tell me what would be the best most answer for this given problem. The integration has to be taken place from 1 to 2 over y dx. This has been the graphical curve, and it has been clearly written. The y has the dependency over the x, and they have been linear in nature. Linear dependency it has. The Srinojay Chakraborty says the answer would be B. Anyone else apart from Srinojay? And I would like to ask one thing, Srinojay, from you. Did you use the graphical method? Did you use the analytical method? Anyone else apart from Srinojay? This much time should not be taken by this problem. This problem should get solved maximum to maximum within 90 seconds. Anyone else? Anyone else? Only one answer have been come so far, and that had been option B. Anyways, let me focus over this problem. We are going to use the two different methodologies to get its definite integral. The first methodology which we are going to apply over here comes the solution, and that had been analytic method. Analytic method. What does that mean by the analytic method? The method through which, using a mathematical process, we would take its integration, we would feed its upper as well as lower limit, and end of the day we would be getting the best most answer. Okay, analytic method. Now see what is happening over here. One thing had been quite sure. This has been a straight line. How the straight line is being defined? The straight line is being defined as y is equals to of mx plus of c. Yes. So as far as the unknown quantities are concerned, they have been m, that has been the slope of the straight line, and c, that has been the intersection of the straight line over the y-axis. Anyways, once you'll visualize or once you'll see this graph properly, you yourself would be able to understand this straight line is crossing through the y-axis at y is equals to 1. The value of c has been known to me, and that has been precisely 1. That has been precisely 1. Similarly, if we'll focus over the slope of this straight line, which used to be uniform throughout the length, slope can be easily calculated with respect to the change in y versus change in x. Let's take it has been change in y and it has been change in x. May you know what had been the change in y? The change in y had been 1 minus of 0. What had been change in x? Change in x had been 0 minus of 1. So the slope given by this straight line can be taken as del of y divided by of del of x, which would be precisely 1. Many of the students would do mistake while calculating its slope, but keep in mind when you do del of y, the value used to be y2 minus of y1, so denominator side also it would be x2 minus of x1. So if this has been taken as y2, so this would be taken as x2. If this has been taken as y1, this has to be taken as x1. Or in another way, as the value of x is increasing, the value of y is keep increasing, the slope has to come positive, because many of the students may calculate the slope as negative while doing the rate of change versus y of rate of change in versus of x. So the value of m is also known to me, that had been 1. So straight away the y has been x plus of 1, and as far as the problem is concerned, we wanted to calculate the integration of y, which has been the function of x plus of 1 over dx. The integration goes from x is equals to of 1 to 2. Once you will take its integration, the integration of x would be x square divided by 2. Integration of 1 would be x, it would be 1, and it would be 2. So obviously we would be feeding the upper limit first. Once we feed the upper limit, it becomes 2 to the power of 2, that is a 4. 4 divided by of 2, that would be 2, plus of 2 minus of, once we feed x as 1, it becomes 1 square divided by of 2, so it would be 1 upon 2, and similarly it would be 1 itself. It would be 1 itself. The result had been 4 minus of 3 divided by of 2. 3 divided by 2 is nothing but 1.5. 4 subtracted with a 1.5, the result would be 2.5. So the answer would be 2.5. Obviously, analytically I could get this answer. Agreed? May I know graphically how could you got this value? My dear friends, one thing had been quite sure. May I know what? The integration has to be taken place, which has been bounded in between x is equals to 1, x is equals to 2, y, which has been a function of x, and dx itself. That means you are going to assess the area under this curve. Area under this curve. May I know when you would assess the area under this curve, would it be treated as positive, would it be treated as negative? Obviously it would be treated as positive, because the lower limit has been kept towards left hand side, upper limit has been kept towards right hand side, and as you have been moving from left to right, all of the lobes or all of the areas which has been made upside of the x-axis would be uncounted as positive. Agreed? So now I am going to take the another method to solve this problem out, and that had been graphical method. Graphical method. And while choosing the graphical method, the area which has been bounded by x is equals to 1, x is equals to 2, y as well as x-axis would be regarded as positive, because they have been made towards upside. May I know what about the area which has been found? My dear friends, you can see one thing. You can take our horizontal line at y is equals to 2, because this complete structure would get bifurcated into two parts. The first part is gonna be right angle triangle, the second part is gonna be a rectangle. May I know what would be the area which would be regarded by the rectangle? You can see the width which has been taken place with the given rectangle has been 2 minus of 1, that is simply 1. That is simply 1. And similarly, if you'll focus about its height, it goes from y is equals to 0 to y is equals to 2. So obviously the area which has been occupied by the rectangle has been 1 into 2. 1 into 2. In the same sequence, let me focus over the area which would be encountered by this right angle triangle. Again, the base has been 2 minus of 1, that has been 1 only, into, you just have to focus over its height. May I know what has been the equation or the function of this equation? That had been y is equals to of x plus 1. That is only it is x plus 1. At x is equals to of 1, the height of the function is known to be 2. So may I know what would be the height of the function at x is equals to 2? You would feed x is equals to of 2 over here. So you will get the value of y as 2 plus of 1, that has been 3. So if you will talk about its coordinate value at x is equals to of 2, its ordinate had been 3. Its ordinate had been 3. So if you will talk about its height difference, you have to subtract 3 minus of 2. It is nothing but 1 itself. 1 itself. So once you will add them together, the 2 as well as 0.5 gets added over here, the result would be 2.5. So you could have used either the graphical method to solve this problem, or either you could have used the analytical method to solve this problem. Both are okay. Both are okay. In the same sequence, we are going to go ahead. Let me move forward. And here goes the next question, and I have seen this has been a problem where many of the students have lot of problems. The problem has appeared in GATE Electronics year of 2016. The problem was framed by IISc Bangalore. Let me bring this problem a bit upside. What this problem states: consider the plot of f of x, which has been clearly given over here, versus x shown in below. That is fine. Suppose you have got a new function of x, capital F of x, which has been the integration from minus 5 to x, fy dy. Which one of the following graph of f of x? Which one of the following of the graph of capital F of x? Tell me what would be the best most answer. Although this problem requires a critical thinking, we would go into the detailed study of this problem, and end of the day, we would get its best most answer. We would get its best most answer. Tell me what would be the best most answer for this given problem. What would be the best most answer for this given problem? Keep in mind, this has been a small f of x. This has been a small f of x. Tell me what would be the best most answer. Good evening, Dushyant. Good evening, dear. Tell me what would be the best most answer for this given problem. And if you guys would be really enthusiasm towards my session, definitely I would go into the much deeper thought process. If you have the problem in front of you, you can really smash this problem with a much depth analysis. So what I am saying, this has been your f of x, and you have been looking for another function which has been defined by the definite integral, where the integration of f of y dy takes place from minus 5 to x. So the answer has started coming. Many of the answers which have come over the live chat, the answers have been C and C. C and C. Anyone else? Anyone else? Because I am going into the great detail of this sort of problem. I am going to go into the great detail of this sort of problem. Anyone else? See, what would be the methodology if you come across this sort of problem? We have taken an xy plane. Each one of us should watch this complete problem carefully, because this sort of problem have started coming repeatedly. This sort of problem have started coming repeatedly. Let's take the f of x. F of x is being a simplest form of the function we have been taking over here. Let's take the function has been sort of this. It starts from x is equals to of minus 2. Let's take its height had been 2 throughout its length. Similarly, it binds up at x is equals to of plus 2, and let's take its height had been minus of 2. Now here you are going to draw a function f of x which has been decided, or which has been defined as integration from minus infinity till x f of x dx. May I know what does that actually mean of it? What does that actually mean of it? Could you understand what does that mean of it? That means at any moment of point at x or at any moment of value of x, the capital F of x would be defined as the signed area under the curve which has been bounded by f of x is equals to minus infinity, x axis at the point x at which the analysis is being made. The point x at which the analysis is being made. Could you understand what I am saying? Should I be repeating once again? This is utterly important concept because this concept is equally valid once we study the concept of probability distribution as well as density. May I know what does that mean of it? Like if you wanted to know the worth of the function, let's take at x is equals to of minus 3. If you wanted to know the worth of the function f of x at x is equals to minus 3, what you would do? You would take the signed area under the curve from minus infinity till minus 3 f of x and dx. May I know what would be the worth of it? What would be the worth of it? If we wanted to know the f of 3, that means the integration has to be taken all the way from minus infinity till minus 3 f of x dx. Tell me what would be the worth of it? What would be the worth of it? I would like to have this input from each one of you. Similarly, if you calculate from minus infinity, let's take from minus 1 f of x, what would be the worth of it? What would be the worth of it? One thing had been quite sure, if you start adding the area from x is equals to of minus infinity till minus 2, you yourself would be able to see the magnitude of f of x was simply 0. That means it is not going to encounter any amount of area at all. It is not going to account any amount of area at all. May I know from where onwards the area would start accumulating? Obviously from minus 2 onwards. At minus 2, the area which has been completely accumulated from minus infinity to minus 2 was 0, and from here onwards the area would start getting accumulated. May I know the area which would be accumulated would have a positive incense or would have negative incense? As you have been moving from negative to positive side or from left to right side, obviously this area would be regarded as positive, and as the area under the curve has been regarded as positive, the value of capital F of x would be positive from minus 2 to 0. There is no doubt as such. And as far as the DC component is concerned or flat line is concerned, it has been a constant, and when the integration of any sort of constant has been made, my dear friends, the result used to be a straight line. Try to understand what exactly I wanted to say, because the knowledge you guys are having probably will not survive for the tougher case of the problem. So the integration of a flat line used to be a straight line. If you want, you can see somewhere. Let's take the 2. If you take its integration, it would be 2 of x. If it is minus 2, it would be minus of 2x. Put together, if it is a flat positive value, the slope would be positive. If it is a flat negative value, the slope would be negative, and it would be a straight line. May I know what would be the worth at x is equals to 0? It would be very same as the integration from minus infinity to 0 f of x dx. Worth is also known to me. That would be very same as the area which has been encapsulated till this region. That would be 2 into 2. That would be 4. Could you understood what I am saying? In the same sequence, if you go towards right hand side, the same chronology can be followed. What would happen over here? Once you take the integration of minus 2x, definitely it would be straight line with the negative slope. But what would happen? Try to understand. Till this amount of point, or this x is equals to 0, the net area which has been encountered by this function had been 4, and now it would start losing its worth. Why? Because more and more negative area is going to get added with the earlier occupied area. The earlier occupied area had been maximum 4, now it would start decreasing. Why the decrement has been taken place? Could you feel it? Because I know in signal system what we read, the integration of this used to be this, the integration of this used to be this, but in mathematics the things are not going to survive. So what would happen from here onwards? As you go towards 1, 2, definitely the area which has been occupied would start getting decline. So here goes the result. It would start getting decline. And from 2 onwards, the complete area which has been occupied had been 0. If you take the worth of capital F of x at 3, so integration has to be taken place from minus infinity to 3 till minus 2 to 2, all of the area has been smashed each other. That means you have not been left out with any area at all. So how the curve would be? The curve would be sort of this. The curve would be sort of this. Agreed? Till this point, nobody should have any doubt as such, no? Now let's take, this has been your new function. Let's take this has been your new function. And taking the reference of this function, if I create another function, let's take g of x, where the g of x is being defined as, g of x is being defined as integration from minus infinity to x capital F of x gx, capital of F of x dx. May I know how the curve would look like? May I know how the curve would look like? For that, I need to go a bit down. May I know how the integration of this curve would look like? How the integration of this curve would look like? So let me take the reference of x-axis first. Here goes the x-axis. And here we are going to draw. Here we are going to draw the integration of capital F of x, which has been taken as g of x. Which has been taken as g of x. The same thing is being happening, my dear friends, from minus infinity till x is equals to of minus 2. The worth of capital F of x has been 0. That means the area which has been accumulated by this integration would remain 0. That means throughout the value of x, the value of gx is simply going to be 0. So one thing had been quite self-explanatory. Till x is equals to of minus 2, it would be sannata. Yes, that is also okay. That is also okay. Now, if you focus over the straight line in between x is equals to minus 2 to 0, it has been a straight line which had the positive slope. What does that mean by the positive slope? That means, let's take the slope had been m into x, where the m has been positive. So in future, if you will take its integration, what it would become? It would become m into of x square divided by f2. And as the value of m has been positive, one thing had been quite sure, it would be a part of upper facing parabola. It would be a part of upper facing parabola. But keep in mind one another thing. Should I be taking the declining portion of the upper facing parabola, or should I be taking the increasing side of upper facing parabola? Because this upper facing parabola had the two part. First one is declining one and another is increasing one. Which one should I be using? Tell me. Which one should I be using? Should I be using the declining one or should I be using the increasing one? I would like to have the input from each one of you. I would like to have the input from each one of you. Should I be using the inclining one or should I be using the declining one? Yes, no? Tell me. Should I be using the inclining one or increasing one, or should I be using the decreasing one? I want the input from each one of you, because these are the points where most of the students are not knowing the facts up to its depth. Tell me. See what is happening. Once you are going from minus 2 towards 0, the area is keep accumulating in positive sense. If you take the declining one, this curve would go towards downside. That is not at all possible, because the area is keep accumulating in positive sense. So I have not been left out with any of the curve. I had to use the increasing side of upper facing parabola. Could you understand what I am saying? May I know what would be the situation from x is equals to 0 onwards? Obviously, we had to go till x is equals to 2. See, we have been dealing with a straight line where the slope has become negative. And as the slope has become negative, only one change you would be experiencing. Still, it would be a mx square divided by f2. I am not focusing much over the value of m, but here the m would be negative. And as the m is negative, definitely you have been dealing with the lower facing parabola. And as you have been dealing with the lower facing parabola, even the lower facing parabola have got the two part of its graph. First the increasing one, the second is decreasing one. Increasing and decreasing one. Which one should I be using? Obviously, again I would be using the increasing one, because this area is still additive to the last area. So from here onwards, the structure of the curve would change a bit. Because you can see very well, it has been following the upper facing parabola, this has been following the lower facing parabola, but one thing has been quite sure, is still it is keep increasing. And once you go from x is equals to of 2 onwards, would it become 0? No. Whatever the area has been accumulated, that has been accumulated, and that would go ahead till x is equals to infinity. Could Could you understand what I am saying? Because this sort of curve would be visible again and again when we would be discussing about the probability mass function. Probability mass function. May I know what would be the worth over here? What would be the worth over here? Tell me what would be the worth of the function g of x at x is equal to, or at 0.1 and at 0.2. I would like to have the input from each one of you. I would like to have the input from each one of you. What would be the worth of g of x at 0.1 where the value of small x has been 0, and what would be the worth of g of x at 0.2 where the value of x has been plus of 2. Tell me what would be the worth. You need not to go mathematical. What I am saying, as you have been accounting all of the areas, and the area which has been accounted is becoming the function of g of x. So this area itself till x is equals to 0, whatever the area has been occupied, that would become the magnitude of the g of x. So what you are going to do over here, you are just going to focus over the area which would be occupied by this triangle. It goes till -2, it comes till 0. So what would be its base length? That would be 2. What would be its height? That would be 4. 4 would get multiplied with 2, that would be 8. 8 would get divided with 2, that would be 4. That would be 4. Could you understand what I am saying? So probably nobody should have any doubt as such. In the same way, if you have been standing at x is equals to +2, all of the back areas has been connected together, and that has become g of x over here. So this area and this area, as they have been symmetric, would have same value. This has been 4, this has been 4, would get added together, and this would become plus of 8. This would become plus of 8. So probably till this point, each and everything must be clear to all of us. Yes. In the same sequence, let me go back. How the problem has been. One thing I had been quite sure. From -5 to a certain point, I do not know. And similarly, from this point to a certain this point, and this point to 0, this point to certain this point, this certain point to this point, this certain point to -5. -5. You can see the behavior of this system. One thing I had been quite sure. See what I am saying? One thing I had been quite sure. If you derive a new function taking the integration from -5 to x5 till x fy dy, one thing I had been quite sure. If you'll go beyond plus of 5, all of the area which has been encountered towards lower side has the same been towards upside. What would happen? They would get cancelled out. So one thing I had been sure, if you'll go beyond plus of 5, the new function which you have derived, which has been plus f of x, has to be lying over the x-axis. The worth of y has to be 0. That is for sure. That's first thing. Secondly, if you start integrating, or if you start accumulating all of the signed area, if you reach at x is equals to 0, one thing I had been quite sure, the complete area has been framed towards downside. That means the worth of capital f of x has to be negative at x is equals to 0. So obviously at x is equals to 0, the capital F of x, the value is 0. It has been ruled out. A has been, the value is 0, would be ruled out. Even C and D could have been the answer. Even D can also be ruled out, because at x is equals to 0, the worth was positive. So you have been left out with this only. But I feel this graph is not the propermost graph. May I know how exact this would look like? See, here the slope has been negative. Just try to understand in this way. The slope has been negative. No? Here the slope has been negative. Once you will take its integration, definitely it would be lower facing parabola. May I know, would it be increasing in nature? Would it be decreasing in nature? It would be decreasing in nature. So from -5 onwards, the curve would be sort of this. Yes, try to understand in this way. Similarly, from, let's take, it could be somewhere x is equals to -3. From -3 onwards, it has become flat. And that too, its flat magnitude was -2. So if you'll take the integration of -2, it would be a straight line with the negative slope. So how would be the structure over here? The structure would be sort of this. From, let's take, x is equals to of 3 to -3 to -2. Now what would happen? From -2, let's take, till +2, what has happened? It has become a straight line with a positive slope. What's the change you would be having? You would be having another straight line, which would be increasing in nature. Would be sort of this. Now again the next chronology have come. It has become flat now. So according to that, you can draw this complete figure out. So exactly if you wanted to draw how the curve would look like, that goes to you guys. How the curve would look like, that goes to you guys. Here it would be parabolic. Here, just a minute. Here it would be parabolic. Here it would be a straight line with the negative slope. Here it becomes a parabola because it's been a straight line. No, here it would be a parabola. Which type of parabola it would be? As it had a positive slope, once you'll take it into integration, definitely it would be upper facing parabola. So which part of the parabola to be used? Tell me. Decreasing or increasing? Tell me. I want the input from each one of you, because this has been the point where many of these students stuck a lot. It would be sort of this. So you yourself would be able to understand it once you'll keenly observe this complete integration. So this has been the second question of the day. In the same sequence, let me move forward and let me go into this question. The integration has been taken place from -1 to +1, where we have been dealing with 1 upon x, which has been raised to 2 by 3, over dx. -1 to 1 dx, which has been raised to x to the power of -2 by 3. See, if you have this sort of problem, no, integration has been taken place from -1 to 1. For the better understanding, what I would do, I would bring x raised been 2 to 3 has been towards upside, and let's take the integration has been taken over the x domain. See what is happening from here onwards. X to the power of -2 by 3 can be taken as x into, yes, just a minute. Here you can take this as x minus 2 by 3. See, it could have been taken as -1 plus of 1 by 3. Yes, x to the power of -1 into x to the power of 1 by 3 dx. Yes, till this point probably each and everything must be clear to all of us. Now what is happening with this problem, probably you could understand or not. Although x to the power of 2 by 3 looks everything fine, but what is happening, once you will feed the limits over the values of x, anyways you are interested finding the area which has been occupied by this complete function. As far as the x inverse is being concerned, it would be a well defined function in between x is equals to -1 to 1, but x to the power of 1 by 3 would not be a well defined function, because it would form a imaginary function for all negative values of x. Could you understand? It would make a imaginary value for all negative values of x. That means x to the power of 1 by 3 cannot be addressed for the negative value of x, and the integration has been taken place from -1 to 1. That means you are also seeking the area which has been encountered for the negative value of x. So one thing had been quite sure, its integration would not exist. Could you really understood what exactly I wanted to say? If you are not able to understand, do one thing. Use the Desmos software which we used to use again and again. Try to draw 1 divided by x to the power of 2 by 3, how it looks graphically. Then you will understand the graph itself is not present for the negative value of x. Then how will you calculate the area under the curve which has been bounded by the curve x is equals to -1 plus 1, x to the power of -2 by 3 and x. So obviously the best most answer for this question is gonna be does not exist. Could you understand what I am saying? So probably each one of us must be digesting the things slowly. In the same sequence, let me move into the fourth question. The integration of x to the power of -3 dx has to be taken from 1 to infinity. Then the worth of s would be, there are the 4 different options were attached along with this problem. Option A was -1 by 3, option B was 1 by 4, option C was 1 by 2, and option D was 1. I would request, whenever you have this pattern of problem, no, better to by heart its outcome. If you have this sort of problem, probably 6 to 7 times this problem have come into the gate examination. Let's take the pattern of the problem had been 1 divided by x to the power of p dx, where the integration has been taken place from 1 to infinity. Which kind of definite integral it has been? Obviously it has been improper form of definite integral. improper form of definite integral. Why improper? Because its upper limit goes till infinity. Why I have taken p? Because I would take the different varieties of p on a real number. I can take positive, I can take negative, I can take lesser than 1, I can take lesser than -1, and we would try to see which are the different values of p at which I would be getting the convergent value for this given definite integral. So you can say it is a multi-star question, because the conclusion which we are going to derive out of this calculation or this derivation is very, very important for all of the aspirants which are writing the gate examination. See what I would be doing over here. At very beginning, I would take the situation where the value of p has been precisely 1. When the value of p becomes precisely 1, here it would be the integration from 1 to infinity, and as the value of p has been taken 1, it would be simply 1 upon x over dx. May I know what would be the integration of 1 upon x? The 1 upon x would have the integration as ln of x. It would be ln of x, where its upper limit and lower limit is known to me. Yes, infinity and 1. So I would be feeding their upper as well as lower limit. The ln of infinity we have seen earlier in the first class of this complete scratch of mathematics. Ln of 1. Ln of infinity becomes infinity, ln of 1 becomes 0. So infinity is going to get subtracted with 0. The result would be infinity. Keep in mind, whenever in case of improper form of the definite integral, the result do come as infinity or minus infinity, it is said to be divergent. Rather, giving its proper answer as infinity or minus infinity, we calculate or we say it's just a form of divergent integration. So keep in mind, when the value of p has been precisely 1, it would be divergent in nature. What I would be doing over here, now I would be taking another situation. Let's take where the value of p has been greater than 1. See, so what I would do over here, again, this x to the power of p would be flipped towards upside. It would become x to the power of minus p dx. May I know what would be the integration of x to the power of minus p? Because solely I will not be able to say how much the value of p I would be keeping, but one thing I had been quite sure, the value of p would be selected greater than 1. So once you will take its integration, it would be x to the power of minus p plus 1 divided by of minus p plus 1. That is also sure. And now I would be feeding its upper as well as lower limit. Keep in mind, whenever we deal with the infinite as limit, I used to keep the things in a form of limits. So I would be feeding limit m tends to infinity. Tell me what's the worth we would be getting after doing all of the analysis. See what is happening over here. So here it becomes 1 divided by of minus p plus 1 has been a constant. We would be dealing as a constant, has been brought out. Here we have been left out with x has been m minus of p plus of 1, and here goes x has to be fed as 1 minus of p plus 1. That is for sure. Yes, no? Now if I would feed limit m tends to infinity, one thing had been quite sure, limit m tends to infinity, keep in mind, may I know what would be its power? Would it be positive? Would it be negative? Would it be positive? Would it be negative? It would be negative, because the value of p has been taken greater than 1, and as the value of p has been taken greater than 1, it is going to be infinity to the power of minus sign. Infinity to the power of minus sign can be written as 1 upon infinity, and 1 upon infinity would become 0, and as this value becomes 0, you would be getting this as a perfect most answer. Tell me what's that worth? It would be minus, no? It would be minus. What is that worth? So the worth is gonna be minus, and minus sign would get out. The result would be this. Any mistake has been happened, so you can just dictate over the live chat itself. Similarly, if you take the other methodology, what has been happening over here, if you take p lesser than 1, as far as the integration is being concerned, till this moment of point there would not be any difference. Any mistake has been happened somewhere? Tell me. So here limit m tends to infinity, that is fine. X to the power of minus p plus of 1, that is also okay. Here goes 1 upon minus p plus of 1. Okay, mistake has been happened, no? That is what I am saying. It has to be p minus of 1. It has to be p minus of 1. P minus of 1. P minus of 1. Yes. In the same sequence, what we would be doing over here, if p has been lesser than 1, what would happen? The m would be raised to a positive sign. Would be raised to a positive sign. And what happens? The m tends to infinity. Infinity has been raised to a positive sign. It would become an infinity. Infinity minus of 1 would become an infinity. Keep in mind, when the p is lesser than 1, the result would be infinity, and it would be a divergent form of indefinite integral. Yes. So one thing had been quite sure. And that has been a very, very important outcome. If you deal with the integration of 1 over x divided by of p, integration from 1 to infinity has been 1 divided by of p minus of 1 only if p is greater than 1, divergent otherwise. Otherwise, that means if the value of p is lesser than equals to of 1. Value of p is lesser than equals to 1. Could you understand? Each one of you, I would like to have the input from each one of you. Could you really understood what exactly I wanted to communicate through this complete calculation which we have made over this PDF? What I did, I took a standard form of the integration where the integration has been made from 1 to infinity. I took that function as 1 over x to the power of 5. The p has been bifurcated in the 3 different parts. The p has been specifically taken as 1, greater than 1, less than 1. When we were taken p precisely equals to of 1, the result has been infinity. Keep in mind, in case of improper definite integral, whenever you get the value as infinity or minus infinity, by default the result is set to be divergent, rather calling it infinity or minus infinity. Same thing goes with the p lesser than 0, lesser than 1, but for p greater than 1, the result had been 1 divided by of p minus 1. Yes, sir? So till this point, probably each and everything must be clear to all of us. Now here goes the problem. May I know, if you take the integration of 1 over infinity, x to the power of minus 3 dx, the result would be divergent or it would be converging a certain specific value? Just tell me the answer would be divergent or convergent. Would it be divergent or convergent? Converging, that means the complete area which has been occupied by this definite integral would be converging to a certain finite value. Would it be divergent or would it be convergent? Would it be divergent or convergent? Tell me. Would it be divergent or would it be convergent? It would be convergent. Why? Because 1 x to the power of minus 3 could have been written as a 1 divided by of x to the power of 3. And once you'll compare with the standard form of the integration for which the complete derivation has been taken place, you yourself would be able to see the value of p has been greater than 1. And if the value of p has been greater than 1, the result would be converging to a certain finite value. And may I know what has been that finite value? That has been 1 divided by p minus 1. What had been the value of p? The p has been 3 minus of 1. The result would be 1 upon 2. Agreed? Because many of the times the different kinds of the problem they can frame and they can drag you guys. Let me take a problem which I would be designing myself. Tell me what would be the answer of this given problem. Let's take the integration of minus 2 by 3 dx 1 to infinity. There are 2 different kinds of the answer you can have. If it is convergent, get me the exact answer for it. If it is divergent, just write divergent over the live chat. Tell me what would be the answer for this given problem. Let's take it has been the first question. In the same sequence, let me focus over the second question. Again, the integration has been made from 1 to infinity. Instead writing x to the power of minus 2 by 3, it has been written as x to the power of minus 3 by 2 dx. Again, the same question has been raised to you guys, whether it has been a form of convergent integral or divergent integral. And if it is a form of convergent integral, tell me the best most answer for this given problem. Tell me what would be the answers for this given problem. So Manisha says the answer, Manisha says it would be convergent. Just focus over this problem. If you bring this x to the power of minus 2 by 3 towards downside, how the structure of this integration would be? 1 divided by of x to the power of 2 by 3 dx. And if you'll compare with the standard form of the integration, you'll get to know the value of p has been 2 divided by of 3, which is lesser than 1. So the answer would diverge. It would not have any answer at all. Answer would diverge. Agreed what I'm saying? because the comparison has to be made over 1. If the result has been equals to 1 or lesser than 1, definitely the series of the integration is going to be divergent. Series of the integration is going to be divergent. But this is not the case in this. If you'll bring x to the power of minus 3 by 2 towards downside, how the structure of the integration would look like? It would be 1 divided by of x has been raised to 3 by 2. And here the value of p has been 3 divided by of 2, which is greater than 1. Which is greater than 1. So the result would be convergent in nature, and now you would be getting the specific finite area which would be occupied by this given function. Yes, by this given function. And what would be the worth of it? Which we have already seen is going to be 1 divided by of p. What has been the worth of p? That has been 3 divided by of 2 minus of 1. 1.5 would get subtracted with 1. The result would be 0.5 towards denominator side. 1 divided by 0.5 would give the result as 2. Would give the result as 2. I have seen many of the times what the student do. They used to just calculate or just do all sort of analysis, and end of the day what they would do, they would calculate its integration as 1 divided by the same formula they would be applying. What? P minus of 1 minus 2 divided by of 3 minus of 1, and from here they would try to get its answer. No, my dear friends, you cannot converge its integration. That means the integration has been infinitely very large. Infinitely very large. Manisha, probably you were doing mistakes, so probably from here onwards you can rectify that mistake, because this sort of problems are repeatedly been asked in different years of GATE examination. Different years of GATE examination. So till this point probably each and everything must be clear to all of us. In the same sequence, let me move forward and go into the next question. Go into the next question. Just a minute. Here comes the next question. And this problem have come in GATE Electronics Instrumentation year of 2005. The problem was framed by IIT Bombay. IIT Bombay. Tell me what would be the best most answer for this given problem. One thing I have been quite sure. What it is? The integration has to be made from minus 1 to 1. And here the function for which the integration has to be made had been 1 divided by x squared dx. This is not the same problem which we have been dealing earlier. It has been a bit different problem. It has been a bit different problem. Tell me what would be the best most answer for this given problem. What would be the best most answer for this given problem? See what has been happening. First focus over the integration of this function. The limit had been finite. So at least from the limit side I do not have any problem. But once you will see the nature of 1 upon x square from minus 1 to 1, you will see the function had been discontinuous. What I am saying, the function had been discontinuous at x is equals to 0, because 1 upon x square had been a rectangular hyperbola, which we have discussed many of the times. So one thing had been quite sure, if you draw this complete segment of integration over the xy plane, here goes the x-axis, here comes the y-axis, how the 1 upon x square is going to look like? It's going to be rectangular hyperbola, which would be in the first as well as second quadrant. We have discussed about this thing in great detail. So probably this is not the right time to discuss the complete behavior of this function again and again, again and again. This has been the function of 1 upon x square. 1 upon x square. So as the discontinuity has been framed around x is equals to 0, so you cannot take its integration once through. So how you had to do the analysis? You had to start from minus 1 and you had to go till 0 minus. Let's take, it has been taken as m, where the m goes till 0 minus. The integration of 1 upon x square has to be taken place. That is for sure. That is for sure. Similarly, rather starting from 0 minus of 0, you will start from 0 plus. So you have to start from 0 plus. So we can do like limit n tends to 0 plus. Here goes n and you would go till plus 1. 1 upon x square over dx. 1 upon x square over dx. 1 over x square by dx. Yes, no? Till this point probably each and individual things must be very clear to all of us. I know many of the students think this sort of problems are utterly simple, but this is not that simple, my dear friends, because it has been a form of improper of the definite form, because 1 upon x square had been discontinuous at x is equals to 0. So you cannot exactly reach at x is equals to 0. You have to stop yourself at 0 minus, and then you have to start yourself from 0 plus. You have to start yourself from 0 plus. Yes, no? So you had to do the integration. May I know what would be the integration of x to the power of minus 2? The x to the power of minus 2 would have the integration of x to the power of minus 1. Yes. And here goes what? X to the power of minus 1, and towards the denominator side you would be having minus 1, minus 1. End of the day, you have to feed its limit, and the m has to be fed as 0 minus. M has to be fed as 0 minus. The same thing goes over here. Limit n tends to 0 plus. Once you will take the integration of 1 upon x square, which would become x to the power of minus 2, and the x to the power of minus 2 would have the integration as x to the power of minus 1, minus 1. And here it would be from n to plus of 1. N to plus of 1. Till this point, probably each and everything must be clear to all of us. What are the changes we would be expecting over here? This minus sign can be brought out. This minus sign can be brought out. So you can do one thing. This minus sign has been removed from the denominator. Yes, this minus sign has been removed from the denominator. This has been brought common out. So let me focus over its upper limit as well as lower limit. It would become m to the power of minus 1. M to the power of minus 1. It would become 1 upon m. 1 upon m. And similarly, minus 1 to the power of minus 1 would become plus of 1, plus of 1. Till this point, probably each and everything must be clear to all of us. And here the m has to fed towards 0 minus. M has to be fed towards 0 minus. Till this point, each and everything must be clear to all of us. Agreed, no? The m has to be fed as 0 minus. You can take like limit m has to be fed as 0 minus. 0 minus. Till this point, probably each and individual things must be very clear to all of us. Now here goes, again the minus sign would come, here the limit n would go towards 0 plus, and once you will take its integration, the same fundamental has to be done over here. So here it would become the upper limit had been plus of 1, so it would remain plus of 1, and here it would be minus of 1 upon n. 1 upon n. Agreed? Once you will feed m has been tending towards 0 minus. May you know what would be the worth of it? The worth of this would be minus of infinity, because you have been dividing with the quantity which is very small, so result would be infinity. Would it be positive or negative? Obviously it would be negative, because it has been 0 minus, and now it is going to get added with 1, still it would be minus of infinity, and minus sign would become plus of infinity. Till this point, probably each and everything must be clear to all of us. And here also it becomes plus of infinity. Could you understand what I am saying? So end of the day, once you will add them together, the result would be 2 times of infinity, which is simply infinity. So the most answer for this given problem would be, the answer would be divergent. Rather calling it the answer as infinity, it would be divergent in nature, does not exist. Many of the students have started giving the answer as minus 2, which would not be the case at all. Probably you are giving the answer minus 2 for this given problem only, no? But no, that won't be the answer. Yes, no? Otherwise, most of the time what they do not give infinity. Otherwise, this problem unnecessarily would become so messy. They can give the another answer like 5, but the most answer would be infinity or does not exist. You yourself would be able to understand, no? If it has been an even function, rather going from minus 1 to 1, you can start from 0 to 1. But at x is equals to 0, the function itself is not been defined. So you will start from 0 plus, and once you will start from 0 plus, how much area you are going to occupy? The huge area is being concentrated around x is equals to 0 plus. Once you add them together, the result would be infinity, and once the result would be infinity, my dear friends, it would be divergent integral in nature. So how many answers we have got it so far? Dushyant, Manisha, Pranali. All of them were giving answer as minus 2. May I know now whether you guys are satisfied or not? If you have any sort of doubt, you can put it over the live chat. I would try to correct those all doubts. So the answer should be does not exist. May I know how you guys could have got this answer? Probably the integration of x to the power of, okay. Probably you guys could have done this, x to the power of minus 1, the minus sign you guys could have taken out. Okay. This thing you have done it, no? It's a big no. It's a big no. How the negative sign would be made? No. If you are starting from x is equals to -1 to +1, one thing has been quite sure, the complete area has been framed towards upside taking the reference of x-axis. Negative answer cannot come at all. That is why we used to classify the definite form of the integral into the two parts. First is improper and second is proper. If it has been a form of proper form, you can just integrate in this way. You can just integrate in this way, but this has not been a proper form of the definite integral because there has been the discontinuity in between. That is why the integration has to be done in respect to part, and from here you will get the answer. You will get the answer. Yes, no? So Manisha, I would request in future, if you have been dealing with this sort of problem, no, definitely at any moment of time, the problem can be framed on the concept of the discontinuity. And once you'll do the integration once through, no, you are going to land at the wrong answer. And that is why the C was also being offered along with this problem. Along with this problem. Agreed, no? So probably till this point, each and individual things must be clear to all of us. So the answer can't be negative. See, graphically also you can infer, no, the answer cannot be negative because the complete area has been framed towards upside and you have been moving from -2 to +2. How the answer can be minus? No, that has been the limitation of the integration. My dear friends, the integration in ones through can be made only and only with the definite, and that to proper form of the integral. If it is improper form of the integral, you can't do that. Thank you, dear Dushyant. And these are, I would say, I have gone through the next problem also. No? Focus over this problem and tell me what would be the best most answer for this given problem. And this problem have appeared. This problem have appeared in GATE Electrical year of 2010. The problem was framed by IIT Guwahati. Let's see what the problem states. Let's see what the problem states. Consider the following integral where the integral or the integral value goes from 1 to infinity, x to the power of -4 dx. The four different options were attached along with this problem. The first diverges, second converges to a certain fixed value 1/3, 1/4 and 0 and 0. Tell me what would be the best most answer for this given problem. And once you'll see this sort of problem, try to recollect the special kind of the derivation is already been made, where the integration was made from 1 to infinity and the function for which the integration has been made had the nature as 1 divided by of x to the power of p. Had 1 divided by of x to the power of p. Obviously, you can rearrange this problem into the same form where the integration has been made from 1 to infinity and here it had been 1 divided by of x to the power of 4 dx. If you'll recollect, how was the derivation which we have performed earlier? The result was 1 upon p minus of 1 only and only when the p is greater than 1, not even equals to 1. Specifically in this problem, the value of p had been 4 over here. So obviously it falls in this category. So you would take its value as 3 minus of 1. That would be 1 upon 2. That would be 1 upon 2. Agreed? Till this point, probably each and individual thing must be clear to all of us and the answer would be B. Answer would be B. Agreed? No? Answer would be B. So let me do one more important thing. May I know when you would be getting the answer as 1 upon 4? Can you suggest what would be the form of this integral? If you wanted to have the answer as 1 upon 4, basically the value of p has to be 5. So may I know how you can design this problem? You can design this problem as integration has been made from 1 to infinity x to the power of -5 dx, and once you solve this problem out, the result would be 1 upon 4. 1 upon 4. Agreed? Probably till this point each and everything must be clear to all of us. Let me see, any more questions has been left out? Probably I should have. Yeah, again. See, the integration has to be made for the given function 1 divided by of root over of 1 minus of x over dx is equals to. The question have come in GATE Electronics year of 2016. The problem was framed by IISc Bangalore. Before going through this problem, I would like to ask one question from each one of you, whether it has been an improper form of the definite integral or whether it has been a form of definite, and that to proper form of the definite integral. it has been a proper form of the definite integral or whether it has been an improper form of the definite integral. I would like to have the input from each one of you. I would like to have the input from each one of you. Tell me what would be the best most answer for this given problem. It has been improper form. May I know why? Because once you feed x is equals to 1, you yourself would be able to understand 1 minus of x would be shooting towards infinity. So one thing had been quite sure, at x is equals to of 1, function 1 divided by of root over of 1 minus of x had been a discontinuous function. If you really want to see how this curve would look like over the xy plane, here goes the x-axis, here comes the y-axis. Let's take, I have taken the reference of x is equals to of plus 1, that would be a straight line. My dear friends, you could have seen one thing, as the value of x would be lesser than 1, this would be a positive value, and as this has been a positive value, its root over would be a real value. And as the value of x goes beyond 1, what would happen? It would become a negative value and the function itself would not exist. So one thing had been quite sure, how the function would look like. The function would something like this. The function would look something like this. At x is equals to 0, you can see 1 divided by root over of 1, the worth would be 1. So till this point, each and every individual things must be clear to all of us. So how will you address this problem? We have already discussed in the last video. What I would do, I won't be able to reach precisely at plus 1. So I would try to reach at 1 minus, before 1, no? So I would take the reference of m, and with the integral I would use the concept of limit, and the limit where the m would be tending towards 1 minus, because exactly you can't go to 1, and precisely at 1 the worth of the function itself is not known. And here it goes 1 divided by of dx. Yes. May I know what would be the worth for it? Improper form of the definite integral. May I know what would be the worth for it? Tell me what would be the worth for it? What we would do, just try to understand this way. At very beginning I would take 1 minus of x as t. Once we will take 1 minus of x as t, definitely the minus sign would go out. It would be left out with the 1 upon root 2. 1 upon root t. 1 upon root t can be written as t to the power of minus half, and once you will take the integration of t to the power of minus half, it would be t to the power of plus half divided by of half. That means that 2 would go upside and still the minus sign would be prevailing over here. So here it becomes minus t which has been raised to half. Minus t which has been raised to half. Yes. Minus t which has been raised to half. Tell me what would be the best most answer for this given problem. Tell me what would be the answer for this given problem. Tell me. Anyways, let me move forward. See what would happen over here. The t has to be again fed back as a 1 minus of x. Okay, let me do that also. So here it becomes 1 minus of x which has been raised to 1 upon 2. 1 minus of x which has been raised to 1 upon 2. And here goes the limit. M has to be fed as 1 minus. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me rub this out. Here becomes minus 1 minus of x has been raised to 1 by 2. And now it's time to feed its limit, which would move from 0 to m. So once you feed its upper limit, it would become 1 minus of m which has been raised to half. And then it is 1 minus of 0, that would be 0, minus of 1 to the power of half, that would be 1 itself. Till this point, if any sort of doubt you guys are having, you can put it over the live chat, and then we are ready to get its answer. Tell me what would be the best most answer we are having for this problem. Now what we would do over here? Tell me what we would do over here. So here it goes like, limit m tends to what it is 1 minus, and even this 1 minus makes hell amount of sense. See, if this m becomes 1 plus, no, this would become a negative, but sorry, 0 but a negative quantity, and once it becomes a negative quantity, half is being applied towards its power, it would become an imaginary quantity. So that is why the 1 minus is a real savior while solving this problem, because the m would be near to 1 but towards left hand side. So what would be the worth over here? The 1 minus of 1 minus of 1 minus, that would be 0 plus. 1 minus of 1 minus would be 0 plus, and once you will take square root of a plus quantity would be a plus quantity, and if you take the square root of 0, that would be 0. So one thing I've been quite sure, it would simply be 0, and the result what we are supposed to get, it's been 1. Tell me whether we are getting the same answer or not. Tell me whether we are getting the same answer or not. I would like to have the input from each one of you. I would like to have the input from each one of you. Tell me whether we are getting the same answer or not. So the Dushyant, Manisha, I would like to ask from each one of you whether we are getting the same answer or not. Or if any sort of mistake has been happened, you can just address over here itself. So this has been the 7th question of the day. In the same sequence, let me focus over the 8th question. Let me focus over the 8th question. Yes, one only we are getting, no. This problem have come in chemical engineering year of 2011. The problem was framed by IIT Madras. The integration has to be made from minus infinity to infinity dx divided by 1 plus x square is. One thing is quite sure, the a can be ruled out, because 1 upon 1 plus x square would be a even function and would be drawn above the x-axis, and as you have been moving from minus infinity to plus infinity, if you will be keep adding those areas would be counted as positive. This has been ruled out. Even it can't be equals to a 0, because as we have got a finite area or maybe infinite area, still the result cannot be 0. So what we can do, taking the reference of this equation, I can take the integration of 2 times from 0 to infinity dx over 1 plus of x square. 1 plus of x square. Again, I would suggest whenever you have improper form of the definite integral, always you should use the concept of the limit. Otherwise, many of the times you would do mistake. I am not saying in all of the times you would be getting the wrong answer, but many of the times you may get stuck. So here it becomes limit m tends to plus infinity. Here goes the integration from 0 to m, 1 upon 1 plus of x square dx. Once you will take the integration of 1 upon 1 plus x square, that would be tan inverse of x. It is been from 0 to m. It is been from 0 to m. Here it goes, m tends to infinity. And once we will be feeding tan inverse of m, so it becomes 2 times of, here goes the tan inverse of m, and here goes the tan inverse of 0. Tan inverse of 0. The 2 is already been multiplied. End of the day, you would assume the m has been tending towards the plus infinity. That is also make hell amount of sense. So what would happen over here? Once you will feed infinity, it would simply become pi by 2 minus of 0. It would be pi. So the best most answer what we are getting here over here, it has been pi. It has been pi. It has been pi. Could you understand? This has been the best method to calculate the actual answer without any error in between. Because if you do the calculation in once through, you may get many number of, this problem is already been taken in yesterday's class. This has been just now taken. Yes. This has been the next question, which is an utterly important question. Tell me what would be the best most answer for this given problem. GATE mechanical year of 2008, and the problem was framed by ISC Bangalore. Which of the following integral is unbounded? What does it mean by the unbounded? That means such a huge amount of area is being conceded by this particular question, such that their result is going to get divergent. May I know how the tan of x looks like? The tan of x we have seen earlier. It looks something like this. It looks something like this. So if you will calculate the area under the curve from x is equals to 0 to x is equals to 4, obviously it would be quite bounded. So if you will say which would be unbounded, so a cannot be answer at all, because it has been bounding the finite area. Simply if you'll be focusing over the 1 divided by 1 plus of x square, we have seen just now how the curve would almost look like. Not exactly, but yes, almost. And we have been discussed the value after doing the integration has been pi by 2. So this is also bounded, would not give the propermost answer. May I know which would be the bestmost answer? I would like to have the input from each one of you. Even the x times of e to the power of minus x, how the curve would look like? The curve used to be sort of this, and at x tends to infinity to become 0, at x is equals to 0 it becomes 0. Again it would be bounding the finite area, and if you will calculate the integration of the given function at x is equals to 1, you would see the result has been divergent. So a has been finite, b has been finite, c has been finite. The bestmost answer would come up as option D. Anyways, in the same sequence we would be discussing about the next kind of the integration in tomorrow's class. Till then, bye bye, take care, good night.